our guest Paul Kuharsky went to Columbia, and I'm guessing, based on looking at Paul, I'm guessing he got into school based solely on his academic merit as well, which
No,
means
I
you
was
guys
more
are
of a
both
Renaissance man.
Really, Paul?
A Renaissance man. But I will say that it's clear that McLovin is not reading U.S. News and World Report.
Paul, by the way, is the ESPN Titans reporter, co-host of the Midday 180 on our affiliate 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. Paul was the guy that said yesterday that the report that from ESPN Cleveland that the Browns had offered 2 first-round picks to Tennessee was not correct. Paul, what can you tell us about that?
Well, I was told yesterday afternoon that the Browns had not made an offer. And that certainly doesn't mean they couldn't have made an offer since then or won't tonight. But I don't think things had advanced to that level as of yesterday afternoon. And that's not surprising, really. I mean, you hear time and time again that as much as teams would like to line things up beforehand, I think the bulk of the trades go down, after the clock starts ticking.
Isn't that just semantics, though, then, Paul? I mean, if the ESPN Cleveland guy, I think it's Pat McNamara, if he's saying that the Browns offered 2 first-round picks, you're told that they didn't really make an offer yet. Could that potentially be semantics and that they're having conversations, but it's not a formal offer or a hard offer at this point?
Yeah, it could be. And I don't think just because his source is telling him one thing and my source told me something else that one of us is outright wrong for the reason you say. But it's also, I think, somewhat inevitable in this week in NFL reporting. It's just kind of a fact of life that things are going to conflict. I think the Titans would like to get out of that pick, but I don't think they're going to do it at anything that they view as a discount.
I actually have a bigger issue, Paul. And obviously, you were told that the Browns hadn't made an offer yet. So you've got your sources with the Titans. You've been covering them for a long time, doing a great job. Can you please give me some logic, Paul, as to why the Titans would deny that? I mean, doesn't that become the baseline for any other offer, the low watermark? Don't you want it out there that you've been offered 2 first-round picks? Like when I saw that the Titans denied that and your report, I cannot figure out. There's got to be some logic, so I'll give you the floor. Why would the Titans on God's green earth deny that?
I understand your point. I do. And they need to play the game to some degree. They've played it better throughout this draft process than I expected they would, frankly. I think they might like Marcus Mariota. And at the beginning of this, I thought there was no way they'd like Marcus Mariota. So, have they convinced me of that because they actually like him? Have they convinced me of that because, I help advertise it and it'll help them in the long run move this pick? I don't know. But I will say this just on a very basic level. The reason they denied it yesterday, I believe, is because the person I'm talking to, I probably haven't gotten a lot from him in a certain amount of time, and he felt like, hey, I can say no to this since it's not true, and it's not a big deal from his eyes. It wasn't a big plotting thing. I think it's widely known that 12 and 19 by themselves are not enough, and so if Cleveland made some sort of preliminary offer that was only that, whether we're acknowledging it was an official offer or not, or anything with all the semantics you've talked about, that's not enough. I mean, I don't abide by the Jimmy Johnson chart, but it is a point of reference, and that says the 2 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and a fourth-rounder, and that's a lot bigger package. So Cleveland, whether it's formal, informal, whatever, they're going to have to give up more than that if they want to get to 2 from Marcus Mariota.
Paul, I keep hearing everybody that knows the Titans, or even the Titans themselves, say they really, really like Marcus Mariota. But they're open. They're open for calls. I mean, if they really loved the guy, wouldn't they just take him? I mean, isn't it pretty obvious that they don't love the guy and they're going to trade this pick?
For the right offer, I think. They need to drum up the right offer. But I agree with you. I think they like him more than they expected to like him. But when you hear Ken Wisenhunt this week at their pre-draft press conference say, yeah, we'll put some move stuff in the offense to accommodate him if he's our guy, I understand Jake Locker wasn't Ken Wisenhunt's guy, but they put in zero move stuff for Jake Locker. He doesn't like his quarterback running around. He wants him dropping back. And it'll take some time for Mariota to take to that and for us to find out if he's any good at it. I think there's too much doubt connected to it. And if you give me two sides of the ledger, one is Mariota and the other is Zach Mettenberger plus Leonard Williams, Zach Mettenberger plus Amari Cooper, I'm taking the two-player side of that deal. But I don't know if I'm in sync with them or not.
Paul, what do the fans want?
You know, there's a surprisingly large faction that is okay with Mettenberger, that doesn't want to see them force it because they've seen what happened with Vince Young and with Jake Locker as high quarterback picks, and who are actually sophisticated enough, shall we say, to realize that whether it's Mettenberger or somebody else later, whoever's at quarterback for the Titans needs a lot better team around him with a new right tackle and upgraded defense and better weapons. And so if you feel like the best player in this spot or out of a trade scenario helps you at some other spot, it's good for whoever the quarterback is. Don't force it if you don't love him. All of that said, Phillip Rivers is the absolute best scenario for this team. If they can get Phillip Rivers, I don't care if it's only 4 years. 4 years of play from a guy who's been a premier quarterback in the league and has proven is better than any what-if scenario.
Is that
for
still
me.
an option, Paul? It sounds like, reading some stuff that Schefter said and others, it sounds like that's dead. Is that still an option, you think?
I think there's still a chance. A lot of those guys have the same agent, Wisenhunt and Rivers, with Sexton. It would be hard because, you need the physical, you need the contract talk. And Rustin Webster said, he told Bob Holtzman from ESPN that he doesn't have, there's no scenario where he would trade someone, draft someone and then trade him. And that opens a whole nother, that would be very difficult for San Diego in terms of the rookie pool cash connected to the pick, because you get it if they trade the pick, but you don't get it if they trade the player. So I would think if there's any chance of that happening, that conversation has to be going on very thoroughly right now or already.
Is there any part of them that thinks if they don't take Mariota that they're just going to be having the number one pick next year? I mean, do you think they'll have the number one pick next year?
They wouldn't concede that at this point for sure, but I do think there's part of them that says if they can't get an offer they love at 2, and there's a player that they love more than Mariota, that they just take him there. Now I don't know if that's Leonard Williams, and Leonard Williams may be a great foundational player for you, but he's not going to be a stat guy, and that probably is in their heads a little bit. But, if they think Amari Cooper is Marvin Harrison, well, and they're right, I'm not going to ding them for drafting Marvin Harrison.
Check him out on Twitter at Paul Kuharsky NFL. He's also the ESPN Titans reporter and co-host of the Midday 180 on our affiliate 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. Thanks, Paul.
Hey, Ross, these guys told me at the Super Bowl they were going to come do a show in Nashville in April. Today's the 30th.
Oh, so they lied to you, huh? Paulie, do you have an explanation?
I remember there's a lot of beers. Paul was plying me with a lot of beer at this little thing. So I didn't say April of this year.
He's blaming Red Hook. That's what I hear.
He didn't say April of this year.
We'll get down there. We love
Thanks,
Nashville.
Paul. Thanks, guys.